have a response to an article that looks like it was written in response to what I have been saying about training with kettlebells, lifting weights and stuff like that. So this looks like it was a response that I just found. So I won't mention the name of the person, but you can obviously see that. So it's the effects of weight training basically on the practical development of chi. Basically why you shouldn't train with weights when developing your chi. Because as we all know, developing your chi is everything. Alright, so I'll put a link in the description to the blog post. This was posted by someone else, not the person who wrote it. He wrote it and gave it to somebody else who had a blog, and then they posted it for them. So this is basically his summation about what's going on in this article. He's saying that they separate the skin-related chi, which includes the subconscious mind's involvement, from the theoretical chi of traditional Chinese medicine. It's about time that somebody called this out. However, this article is not very clear in how that got separated, and I'll go into that a little bit later on. So it appears partially as a reaction to a recent trend of mixing or doing Chinese martial arts conditioning through the medium of kettlebell or weight training. There we go. So who's been talking about that? That would be me. So I need to be clear here. We're not talking about mixing. That's a huge mistake. We're actually talking about using kettlebells and weight training as a form of kung fu itself. There's no need to mix. Okay? Now we can mix. We can do that, and I would advocate mixing. But if you did nothing but train kettlebells and do weight training the way that I'm going to suggest, you would already be training kung fu, period. And I understand that's going to upset a lot of people, and believe me, I'm totally fine with that. By the way, this is going to be a long video. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to summarize as we go through. So the question is it a waste of time, or if you want to get to the root of the subject, which is what the Chinese martial arts call chi. Okay, I'm going to say some very shocking things for you in this video based on my 20 years of experience living in Taiwan, speaking Chinese on a daily basis. Your Chinese teachers who speak Mandarin are never going to clear this up for you, and they could have cleared this up 50 years ago, and they just didn't. And they're never going to. Okay? So I'm going to tell you a lot of what that is, because they won't. And I'm going to go into why. Okay? So we're going to be nuking several sacred cows here. So look, I don't think there's anything wrong with making yourself physically stronger. So this is part of the mistake right here. You've got this idea that kettlebells and weight training just make you physically stronger, and that being physically stronger and working with the body has nothing whatsoever to do with chi or internal martial arts or any of that stuff. And again, the summation of the article right away cuts out 100% of what should be addressed. And I don't agree with this summation. I don't agree with this article. You're going to see why, and it'll become clear as we go a little bit further into it. So the article states that to master the internal movement, okay, what is internal movement? I mean, I had a nice internal movement this morning at about 6 a.m. after I had a couple of cups of coffee. What is internal movement? Is it my spleen attacking my liver? See, this never gets explained. It's always said like, oh, well, internal movement. What the heck does that mean? And they never are clear about this. Never. And they're never going to be. And what's supposed to happen is you're supposed to get lost in the confusion, the miasma of training, and figure it out for yourself. Okay, so the body must be completely retrained to learn to move with Qi, Jing, and Dantian. Oh, brother. Here we go. And using weights will not help you in this aspect. But once you've retrained the body, then maybe you could learn how to use them, and maybe you could add them. Okay. All right. So that's basically the summation. So let's just get down to it. So the practical development of Qi and why you shouldn't train with weights. Discussing Qi is very difficult because the definition of Qi has become a bird's nest of related topics. So he's going to try to narrow it down. Most of the skills related to Qi in the physical body have to do with an area near the skin of the body that is referred to as the protective Qi or Wei Qi. Okay, I need to tell you something that I have never really talked about publicly, And that's that I know exactly what this is talking about. I actually learned the old Yang style of Tai Chi, and I learned it in two different ways. Number one is the post-heaven Chi method, which is what I currently use, and it's what I'm trying to promote. So the post-heaven Chi method is the amount of Chi that you can build in the body by moving and manipulating your body. The pre-heaven Chi is the other way I learned how to use the old Yang system. So pre-heaven Chi is the amount of Chi that you were born with, and that's it. So here's the catch. If you won the genetic lottery, this will work to some extent for you. And if you didn't, you can practice this 10 million hours a day for 10 million years, and it's never going to work. Period. The teacher that I learned this from informed me that based on his experience of having taught all of this stuff for years, 40 to 50% of the people can never feel their pre-heaven Chi because they don't have enough of it. And then, and this is a little bit early to get into this, but this leads to something called sensation chasing. And that's where people start chasing these sensations, and they chase this for the rest of their life. And this is for the people who can't make it work. The people who can make the pre-heaven Chi work are actually going to have severe limitations. And again, your Chinese teachers will never in 100 million years tell you this, okay? They're not going to do it. Why? I'm going to skip to the end and I'm going to give you a clue. A large part of Chinese culture is letting you figure things out for yourself. Because one of the keys of pre-heaven Chi is that through reincarnation, you inherited or you built up enough merit that at this point, all they have to do is point to the truth and you'll figure it out for yourself. But here's the catch. If you never do, that's not their fault. That's on you. No one's ever told you that, right? Welcome to the pre-heaven, post-heaven split, okay? The pre-heaven split is really going to be solidly based on you figuring things out for yourself because you happen to have been born with enough karma to make that happen. This is why, one of the reasons why I don't really teach this method. I find it pretty unethical. But that's what this Wei Chi stuff is based on. Wei Chi is like, why me into Chi? It's Chi that you can feel through your skin. So here's the process. I'm just going to spit it out. I'm going to give you the whole thing for free. 10 years of my life this cost me, $10,000. Are you ready? So you start with the Chi ball exercise. And what this does is it allows you to feel a yin-yang polarity in your hands. And once you can feel that polarity, what you do is you wake up to the sensation of your Chi. And then by relaxation and by stretching of the tissues, which he's going to talk about here in a minute, through the stretching of the tissues and then through the breathing, you make this stronger and stronger and stronger. And then once you can feel it between your hands, the hands actually rotate inwards. And this is why you stand with your hands rotating inwards. And what you do is you actually can feel your Chi emanating from your body. And the more you stretch and the more you do this, the stronger the sensation gets. Wow. So you've woken up the primordial force, the flow that's going to allow you, with your Wudong Dork Knob blowing in the wind, to jump across bamboo leaves, and the universe opens and you become one with the Tao. No, it doesn't happen. Okay? Again, I'm going to skip to the end, but again, I was trained in this method, and I was trained in this method because my teacher, he wanted me to know the difference between the pre-heaven and the post-heaven. And I am forever grateful for this because now I understand a lot of the things that these people talk about. So that's the paradigm that this is based on. So you should know I actually trained this method 2.5 hours a day, every single day. I did the Yang style form, and I did it with complete relaxation with all of this in mind. I did the Wei Chi thing. I didn't do any sort of other exercises because, as he's going to tell you, it actually gets in the way. And I did this for 6 months, and you know what it got me? I got the fattest I've ever been in my life. All of my blood markers went into the toilet. At the same time, my sensation of Chi went through the roof. And that just goes to show why people are a certain shape and why they get this pear-shaped body. the pregnant man syndrome, because this is what leads directly to that. And again, you are never in 100 million years going to ever be told that there's any weakness to this training. And this is what leads to people getting high blood pressure. There's a whole host of people in Chen style who are getting high blood pressure and dying because of that. Because when you combine this kind of training with Fa-Jing, which really kicks up your blood pressure, it can really predispose you to high blood pressure and other things. And then both in Yang and Chen style, especially Yang style, you have a lot of people getting diabetes. And this is why. Okay, the sensation that you feel in your body called qi is not a biomarker. It is not a health marker. Your blood sugar is. Your high blood pressure is. Okay? Your VO2 max, that is. These are biomarkers that you should be measuring, not this Wei Qi that's emanating. So let me tell you something about the Wei Qi, by the way. I've actually studied serious Taoist Neigong, and they kind of laugh at this Wei Qi. Wei Qi is something that all of you can feel, and you can feel it right now. Have you ever felt like your hair stand on end? That's Wei Qi. Okay. Wei Qi corresponds in the 5 elements to wind Qi. Basically, wind Qi, you can feel like when the wind blows and your hair stands on end. That's what it feels like. And in the Taoist paradigm, it's the weakest, lowest form of Qi that you can feel. This is why they often talk about the fire and water Qi, because that's where the real work is. And you're going to notice that this article that I'm talking about right here, he goes on and on and on and on and on about Wei Qi. This is the lowest level. Okay? So he's going to base all of this on this, because that's what these people do at this level. They base it on these like low-level sensations that everybody can feel, and you end up sensation chasing for the rest of your life. And this is a complete and total waste of time. You basically end up literally with nothing. And that's even if you can feel your qi. I'll go into that a little bit later as to why that happens. So this protective qi is often referred to as an energy. It's actually a physical set of tissues that's controlled by the autonomic nervous system. No. Basically what you're doing is you're slowing your nervous system down so that you can feel it. Okay? But it isn't really a physical set of tissues. You learn to control it via the subconscious mind, and it does feel like an energy. That's actually true. You can actually feel it, and at the beginning, the reason why they call it Tai Chi Shi, or Tai Chi Chi Shi, like the opening sequence, is that what you do is you feel the yin-yang polarity, and once you collapse the polarity into one qi, then it creates a wave, and that wave bounces you out, and you ride the wave, and you use that in your Tai Chi form. So it actually does feel like an energy. The problem is you can never use this in martial arts. Never. It's never going to happen. You're never going to pick up anything with your qi. You're never going to be able to manipulate somebody with your qi. It's never going to happen. So let's separate the skin-related qi, which includes the subconscious mind's involvement with the theoretical qi of Chinese medicine. That's where most of the confusion lies. I would agree with that to some extent. The skin-related qi and the subconscious mind are artifacts. Yeah, da-da-da-da-da. Okay, they give the sensations of qi added strength by supplemental or muscle bone strength and Dantian control of the body as connect. No. No. Okay. This Wei Qi manipulation, it's purely a sensation, and it will not move. It's not going to lead where you think it will. So Jin forces, here's where we really screw up. The manipulation of the solidity or the ground or the downward forces of gravity are also the product of the skin-related qi. Jin is defined as the physical manifestation of qi in many sources. No. No. Jin is not based on qi. Not like this. It's the qi that they're talking about is what I would translate as vitality. And again, if you actually got into really serious Neigong, Taoist Neigong, a lot of them will laugh at this. This is the popular Amazon kind of buy books and stroke and manipulate your qi, smoke a bowl of qi kind of understanding a lot of people have. And serious Taoists will laugh at this because this is not how this actually works. A lot of the serious Neigong and Taoist guys will actually use kettlebells and weight training because they know the body has to be maintained. So Jin is defined as the physical manifestation of qi, not the wei qi that you feel in the skin. No, not that. So the qi of traditional medicine theory is often, or was an effort to explain the workings of strength, including the strength of our involuntary systems. What does that even mean? I mean, he doesn't even explain that. So if that qi is designed to explain strength, and if that's a legitimate explanation, then it sort of throws off his response to the first part. He doesn't even explain that at all. So the skin area wei qi is initially controlled by respiration and breathing exercises. So as you stretch the tissues and you breathe into them, the sensation of qi that you can feel actually will increase. And again, this causes kind of a downward spiral. I'll go into this a little bit later. So during inspiration, if we're slightly extended, we can feel a slight inward pulling of the tissues. Yes, that's actually true. You can feel that. Other areas of the body being stretched taut can also be felt during the inhale. That's also true. But also many areas of the body can't be felt. That's because certain areas are not as open to the qi development as they could be. And that's the process that they're going to preach to you, is to open all of this, and your meridians will just flow and you'll be at one with the Tao. No, it's not going to happen. I'm sorry. So we can skip the part about the animals training qi and general movement. Jin force manipulation is a product of the qi tissues. There's no such thing as qi tissues. Okay, if your tissues don't have qi, all of them, you're probably dead. Applying stressors within the body's frame. No, qi doesn't apply stress to the body's frame. That's not how that works. So that's why Jin is defined as the physical manifestation of qi. Oh, brother. We use qi unconsciously in our everyday movements. Okay? You use your muscles unconsciously in everyday movements. Okay? So another common definition of Jin is intrinsic strength. For the love of God. You use your muscles every day. Your heart is beating right now. It's a muscle. Okay? If the muscle stopped working, you would be dead. Full stop. The full-blown traditional movement methodology that permeates the Chinese and related martial arts involve both qi and qi subset jin. Qi and jin. Jin forces are mind-directed forces from the ground and gravity. How does that work? Qi can be thought of in a simplified sense as a superficial muscular layer that connects the whole body. This whole stretching the wetsuit stuff, tensegrity and, breathing into your wetsuit and manipulating the hand and all that. Okay, what you're doing is you're coiling the muscles, and as the muscles coil, they uncoil. Okay, it's muscles. Anyway, the basic idea of movement with qi and jin is that the power from the ground in the lower body is used as the power source for the upper body. It's not going to work. I mean, you can connect that for sure, and you can create ground paths, and you can do that in a barbell squat, and you can do that in a kettlebell snatch. That's the same ground path, and it goes all the way out to the hands. Welcome to weight training. So the qi and jin work from the lower body, including the middle and the dantian, so we have internal movement as a system where the arms and hands are controlled and powered by the lower body in the middle. Yes, welcome to Olympic weight training. Welcome to kettlebell training. Welcome to all sorts of functional training that has discovered that probably 140, 50 years ago. Yeah, welcome to that. See, the problem with this is that everybody thinks that if you train with weights, you're just doing bicep curls and bench press all day. And I'm just so disgusted with it. It's abject nonsense, okay? Grow up. It is not $17.99 anymore, okay? We've known this for a long time. And a lot of people's heads are stuck in this paradigm of weight training is for cavemen and idiots. And it's not, okay? There's smarter ways to do this. Anyway, the general admonition is that muscle and power are used in the lower body as needed, and then the upper body is moved with the use of local muscle. Okay, whatever. The person who thinks that the internal arts would be best supplemented with typical weight workouts at the gym has lost the plot and is giving away a total lack of understanding about how the internal martial arts work. There is no such thing as an internal martial art. It doesn't exist. Is your spleen at war with your liver? How is it internal? It doesn't make sense. The same alignments that you use in Taiji Chuan, Xingyi Chuan, and Bagua are also used in Shaolin Chuan. You know, that nasty external system? Where the hell do you think all this came from? All these arts are Shaolin based. The Ba Duan Jin, Muscle Change Classic, the 18 Lohans, marrow washing, where the hell do you think all that came from? It came from the Shaolin Temple. There is no difference. Okay? All of the most famous Qigong Neigong sets on earth all came from Shaolin. And again, for the 100 millionth time, you cannot show me not one example of anybody making this Qi-based paradigm work against a resisting opponent. There is not one example anywhere on earth. And I've asked for it for 20 years now, can't find it. So the proof is on you guys. And so the idea that anybody has lost the plot, the reason that I'm telling you guys to do this, I'm using the post-heaven or the post-heaven Qi model, which anybody and everybody can access. You don't have to be able to feel your Qi in order to get the results. 100% of people who try this method can make it work. At best, the pre-heaven method, 40 to 50% of you who try this are never going to make it work. Even if you do make it work, it's got severe limitations. How much time do you have in the day, and how many decades of your life do you have to waste? Think about it. So those of us who are telling you to use weight workouts, we're not telling you to work out the way that everybody else is, and this is just based in ignorance. Because the person who wrote this doesn't have any clue what I'm talking about. They never lived in China, they never lived in Taiwan, doesn't speak Chinese, doesn't have a clue what these words mean, but he will tell you he does, and basically he's threatened by what I've been putting out. And that's why he's against all of this, because I'm actually showing people how to do that, and that's going to continue. So developing the Qi Jin skills are actually fairly easy to learn. All it generally takes pointers and blah, blah, blah. Qi is difficult to develop because it takes time, and the feelings we need to focus. Okay, that's actually true. As I've already said, most of you will probably never feel that, and even if you did, it's got severe weaknesses. Breathing techniques, okay, he's doing this stuff again. Movements that involve directing all forces upward from the solidity of the ground. So you must sink your Qi or use the weight of your body as a basis for downward movement. Okay, again, basing the movement in the leg, drawing the power of the ground from the foot, yes. Welcome to Olympic weightlifting for the third or fourth time. Welcome to kettlebell training. That's exactly what we do. We also can manipulate the dantian very well. We know how to do it. And believe it or not, our training will prevent you from getting, guess what? High blood pressure and diabetes, unlike the pre-heaven method. So ultimately you develop a form of movement that uses the solidity of the ground, where you're standing on sand. This is so crazy. As the focus of all forces to and from the body, while the Qi covering the body is manipulated by the lower body and bringing the power. What the hell does it? I know what he's saying. It's because when you feel the Qi emanating from your hands and you feel it emanating from your body, okay, this is a self-reinforcing kind of paradigm. I'm just going to be blunt, and I'm sorry that I don't have a better metaphor of this. Basically, this is the difference between masturbation and sex. So, pleasuring yourself, it feels good, but it's like this self-referential thing, and it's not the same thing as having sex, making children, making love to another person. It's not. But the people who have only done masturbation think it is. So what you're doing with the Wei Qi thing, manipulating your skin Qi and all this kind of stuff, you almost enter like in your own little bubble, your own little cult, where you're chasing these sensations, and you feel like if the sensation grows, you're getting more and more and more powerful. And then what you have to do is you have to get softer and softer. You have to get more relaxed in order for the feelings to grow. But what that causes is it causes a separation between you and other people, and you go down this rabbit hole of insanity where you become more and more and more self-referential. And it does not work against opponents. You can't make it work. Nobody can. And if you go back and you look at several famous teachers, they will all tell you that this is health this is health Qigong, or this is medical Qigong, that it has no uses whatsoever in martial arts. Now, I will give one caveat. When I went through this and I did this training, I did notice that my defensive skills and push hands did increase because your sensitivity to your skin increases. Therefore, your sensitivity to what's going on in the other person does increase. However, under this paradigm, internal stuff is only defensive. You can never use it offensively. There is no offensive use of this Wei Qi kind of stuff, this air Qi. It just doesn't exist. So you can get really good at defense, but you can never defeat anybody else. In order to do that, you actually need post-heaven Qi. So you should at least be training post-heaven Qi along with pre-heaven Qi. But the problem with the pre-heaven Qi model is that if you include post-heaven Qi and you really start developing it, then this superficial sensation that you get of your Qi, the Wei Qi, will actually go down. So that's why they don't want you to do weight training. They don't want you to do running. They don't want you to do anything. It's again, it's like masturbation. You just spiral down into this abyss where you're totally self-referential and your practice means everything. And we actually see a lot of people spiral down into psychosis because of it. So all Asian martial arts are labeled internal. No, they are not. Anyway, formal yeah. They all use this combination of Qi and Jing for movement, whatever. So learning the external choreography and appearance of a martial art Qigong, no matter how much it resembled the movements of an expert, will not be correct until the system of movement is changed over to Qi, Jing, Dantian. Okay, I see where he's going with this, and I'm going to agree with this. I think he gets into that in just a minute. Almost all the movements we often see in the Western semblances of Tai Chi, Aikido, Xingyi are based on normal movement parameters, not on Qi Jing mechanics, and will take an effort to relearn these arts with a correct movement basis. Okay, so what he's getting at here is something that the entire community needs to hear. You are not being taught this pre-heaven paradigm. Most of them are not going to teach you this. Here's the catch. He's wrong. You're also not being taught from a post-heaven paradigm either. The post-heaven paradigm is what I'm teaching from. I can teach you the pre-heaven paradigm if you want. I would much prefer to teach the post-heaven first. At least you'll have something. And then with that basis, then you can learn the pre-heaven. That's the way that I was taught. So then you'll understand both. But what he's saying here is actually correct. You're not being taught either of them. You're just being taught like a normal way of movement, and the Chinese, because they're based in Chinese culture, are going to let you figure it out, or you never will. So I heartily agree with that. And this is the big problem, is that everybody's having to swim through this huge miasma of non-information. Nobody's explaining what Qi is. Nobody's explaining what Jing is. Nobody's explaining Neigong, Weigong. Nobody's explaining any of this, and they probably never will. And then it's inherent upon us as Westerners, because I'm not Chinese. I can't rest on my last name. I have to explain this kind of stuff or nobody's going to pay any attention to me. I can't make money off my ethnicity. And that's part of the problem. If you go through and you explain all this, and then the effort is on you to defend it. And that's a huge thing. But as Westerners, this is the path that we've been given. We have to kind of explain, and we have to actually get results. I can't just have people think mystical thoughts and say one day you'll get it. In my opinion, that's unethical, and I just won't do that. So to finish it up, so if your goal is to learn all this stuff, remember all the talk about relaxation, don't use weights, is because the body must be completely retrained to learn to move with Qi, Jing, Dantian. Okay, again, I think I've shown clearly that's pretty much a path to nowhere. It's never going to happen for most of you. My suggestion, having learned both paths, is take the post-heaven method. It works for everyone. I teach you how, if you will stick with it, I will teach you how to create Jin paths with the kettlebell, with the barbell. It doesn't really matter. I will teach you how to manipulate the Dantian. I will teach you how to do Neigong, but it's from a post-heaven martial arts perspective. With that basis, if you then want to learn the pre-heaven method, I can teach it to you. But at that point, it won't be as destructive. But then you won't be as reliant on it either. Then you will understand both sides of the coin, and then you'll have a little bit of everything. So I hope that was clear. I'll put this link in the show notes. And thanks for watching. Sorry it took so long. Bye-bye.